I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her, marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet. Buried alive, buried alive. Come! Come!
Alright guys, here we are, we're at game 4 of Southern Assault. This is Dawn Attack, and this will be Orcs and Goblins versus vampire counts. And these vampires are the same ones you've seen in 2 of my battle reports, and this will be the 4th straight tournament we've played each other. Alright, and the one difference in this Dawn Attack would be that there'll be an objective token in the center of the board worth 300 victory points, and only infantry or monster infantry can claim that. And also each player will have an objective token worth 300 points that they'll give to one of their infantry or monster infantry units. You lose the objective token if you flee or are destroyed, and you can only claim it by either touching it or capturing it, like a capture a standard. And again, we'll look at my army. I'm going to have to be putting heavy reliance on my Doom Divers to try to take care of the night buzz that he has. So far, our last 3 games, my war machines have come through and I've been able to take out that night bus before it could just rip through my army. And I've been seeing other battle reports from people fighting against these night buses, and usually they either avoid it or somehow they're able to beat it in combat. And for me, I pretty much have to beat it with war machines, unfortunately, or trolls. But I think by now vampire players know to either avoid the trolls or have a flaming banner. And as we look at my opponent's army, the first thing you're probably going to notice is he doesn't have the flaming banner on his night bus. Instead, he has him on a skeleton unit. But I still think he's going to be able to avoid the trolls, or try to avoid the trolls. And he has 2 tough vampires in that unit and a white king. So that's just still going to be something I can't go really toe-to-toe with. Last time I did that with my trolls, I got really lucky with my regens. So I don't know if I can depend on that twice. And otherwise, he actually has some crypt horrors this time, which I haven't seen before. And I started this out thinking that they have 4+ regen, and then I'll find out later they have 5 regen. So they're not quite as good as far as regen goes than regular trolls are. And he's got a big unit of ghouls here, which is going to be tough. And he's going to have 2 wraiths in his unit of skeletons. And that's where he's going to put his objective token. I'm going to put my objective token in my big ones, which is basically obvious. But since he can't put his objective in his night bus, he could either do his crypt horrors or his skeletons. He chooses his skeletons. I think that makes sense because he can hold them back and make it tough for me to try to get that objective from him. And finally, he comes in at a 5 versus my 9. So we're not that far off, but still a 5 is pretty tough. And now for deployment. He loses out on his luck here, and he has to deploy entirely first by winning the roll for table side. And I think he basically won that side because he was afraid of me being behind that river. We were playing it as a river. So he has to deploy first, and we roll off to where our zones are going to be. He's very heavily on my left. We're really on his goals are towards the center along with his crypt horrors. And for me, I get really lucky where both my manglers and my warfighters get to choose where they're going to deploy. And I'm really only forced to have my gigantic spider on the far left, I think one of the war machine over there, and then I'm forced to have 1 spear chukka, my small trolls, and my little night goblin unit on the far right. And I got pretty lucky here where that hill was right there, so I could put another chukka that I got to choose where it could be. That's a little bit more towards the center, but I get to choose where they could be, so I can have them both on the hill there. And this is just a closer up look at his deployment for most of his army. You can see it's mostly packed in this one area, and he has some bats off to the side where you can't see in the picture. But mostly he's pretty much centered. And this is after vanguards. I vanguard my wolves up towards that little wall in the center, and it's pretty close to the objective, even though I can't claim it with my Wolf Riders. I'm just hoping I can move his infantry toward there a little bit faster. And he vanguards his little dire wolves up on the top there a little bit. We have Orc and Goblin turn 1, and I start off my little Goblin unit fails animosity, and that doesn't really matter. For some reason, I didn't have my level 1 Shaman in them, which I meant him to be there. So he doesn't lose being able to use Photogork, but I'm not sure what I was thinking, not placing him in that unit, but I guess I'm lucky because they failed animosity. Otherwise, I move my guys up a bit. But when we go into Magic, he's able to spell my Photogork, and I don't really have any good range to do a headbutt. When we go into shooting, it's pretty terrible. I have a Doom Diver blow up right off the bat. Other Doom Diver does get a direct hit on his Blood Knights. Not his Blood Knights, his regular Knights. But I can only kill one. My Chuckles all shoot at his Terrorgeist, and I only do 1 wound. And somehow after all that, my little Orc Archers, with cover on his dire wolves, are able to kill one of them, needing 7s to hit. So somehow they managed, I think, to shoot better than actual artillery. But other than that, that's pretty much the whole turn, which does not start very good for me. And here we are with Vampire's turn 1, and he starts by not charging anything. Instead, he moves up with his Crypt Horrors to claim the objective is on the other side of that wall. And he starts swinging his knights around, because basically my right is a lot weaker than the rest of my army, so they're fast enough with the Banner of Swiftness to start really coming around here fast with the Terrorgeist. I think he's hoping to swing around and then start tearing me up on the right. Other than that, we go into his magic. He gets Irresistible Force off on Gaze at my Mangler. Now, he doesn't want to miscast on 3 dice on a gaze, so he uses his War Dice to try to reroll on those 6s. And he rerolls it to be a 5. And of course, I think I want to challenge this because, I mean, there's no reason not to, but also, I mean, I want him to have a Irresistible Force on that. So I challenge and I fail. It's a very high casting value. I don't want to waste dice on a gaze, so I let it go, but it does kill my Mangler that was in that little river. So then we go into shooting. He just screams at my little Night Goblin unit and he just kills 4 of them. And that's pretty much the end of his turn. This is Orc turn 2, and the Wolf Riders that are on the left, they're able to wheel around those Crypt Horrors without touching them and charge the ghouls. So I want them to do that because I want my Rack and my Trolls both to combo charge his Crypt Horrors. So that's what I do. I charge my Wolf Riders at those ghouls, and then those other 2 units at the Crypt Horrors. I also charge my Gigantic Spider at his dire wolves, and otherwise that's pretty much all my charges. I move my Wolf Riders around. I have it try to situate it here where he either has to scream these guys away or pound his way through them in order to get to my big guns. And if he's screaming at these little small units around his Terrorgeist, then he's not screaming at my War Machines. We go into Magic. I do get a Photogork off. I kill about 2 or 3 of his knights. I have position to try to make him take Lookout Sirs, and he passes the Lookout Sirs. Then going to shooting, my Doom Diver kills another 3. That's really good. I've killed 6 knights. I shoot my Chuckers. For some reason, I just shoot them all at his Terrorgeist, and I do absolutely no damage to it. I probably should have just shot knights. I don't know if he would get cover save or not with my guys on the hill. I'm not really sure about that. But then when we go into combat, he of course wipes out my Wolf Riders. I wipe out his dire wolves. And then we have the bigger fight here. He does 4 wounds to my Ragnarok. Oh my god. But I do come back and do 5 wounds to him, so I win by 3. And so that's enough to pop another one of his guys and put 2 wounds on the next guy. So I mean, I've hurt these guys pretty bad, but they're still dangerous to my Ragnarok. I can still lose my Ragnarok. Now Vampire's turn 2. He's now able to turn tables on me and able to whittle around things because he charges his ghouls at my big end unit, which means he can now go right around those ghouls easily and charge into my Ragnarok that's also fighting the Crypt Horrors with my Trolls. So that Ragnarok's toast. He also charges his skeletons at my Gigantic Spider, I decide, maybe I can kill a wraith before it attacks. Then I'm probably going to lose my spotter. That's not really an even trade. So I decide to flee and I get away. I think he tried to redirect at my orc archers. I stand and shoot. I think I might have killed one skeleton, but he fails to charge. So we go into magic. I do everything possible to stop him from raising any knights. I can't. I had him down to 3 knights. I don't want him to gain any. I don't think he gets any spells off at all. So when you go into this combats, first he starts allocating attacks to my characters in my biggin unit. He's not able to wound my BSB at all, but he gets 1 wound through on my general and 1 wound in on my regular big boss. I strike back. I kill a bunch of his guys. I win combat, I think by 3 maybe, and 2 or 3 more. 3 more guys crumble. But the more important thing here is that first his vampires come into my Ragnarok. They do 3 wounds. I still have 1 wound left. So I'm able to strike, I think, before his regular knights or his whatever. I'm able to kill like 2 of his knights. I get him down to 1 knight. But I can't stop his steeds and his other knight. They do the last one of my Ragnarok and kill it. Now, other than this, I think one of his vampires might have attacked into my trolls, and I regened all the things. But other than that, he cannot kill any of my trolls. I kill 1 more of his cryptars, so I'm still steadfast. So I'm on 9, I'm going to reroll, I make it, and I stick. But his knights aren't in combat anymore, so he's able to reform them. But all in all, it's still looking pretty good for me to get this objective here. I have Orc and Goblin turn 3. I have no charges. I move my Wolf Riders up to try to block his knights from, really coming into either my goblins, trolls, or biggins. Otherwise, I reform some things. I try to rally my gigantic spider. He fails to rally, since he's playing at a weird angle because bats had also charged him from previous turn. He's not moving towards the table edge. He's moving towards just straight in a straight line. He only rolled like maybe 4 inches to flee, so he doesn't really flee much at all. We go into magic. If I get air, we go off on my biggins. I don't think it's Fist of Gork. I try a Foot of Gork, and I think he dispels it. It's either that, or I think I might have miscast and killed a bunch of goblins and then just do no damage to him. We go into shooting. He had screamed away my second Doom Diver, so all I have left is Spear Chuckers. I have a flank shot with one of those Spear Chuckers on his knights. I roll. I kill his last knight. I kill his White King. I kill his Vampire level 1. And then I hit and I wound his Lord. And he fails his ward save. So if I can roll a 5 up, I mean the game's basically over. I don't, I only roll like a 1 or 2. But still, this Spear Chucker, I think if he killed that Lord, I might have retired that Spear Chucker. Because, that Spear Chucker really just, earned its keep. So we go into combats. My Troll's able to finish off his Cryptars. So I'm able to claim the objective there, and that gives me another 300 points in addition to what the Cryptars cost. The other combats we're going to go into, we have the ghouls that are going to be fighting my biggins. And he's allocating attacks again. He's able to do another wound to my general, but he can't wound my BSB or my big boss, which only has 1 wound in light armor. So they're all still there. I attack back in, I kill some ghouls, I win combat, a little bit more of his ghouls crumble. So I'm slowly whittling down these ghouls. But this was a real big turn, even though I haven't taken those ghouls out yet. So now I have Vampires turn 3. And I had my Wolf Riders there to block his knights, so when he's charging his Lord and my wolves, I figured I really don't need them to speed bump anymore. I was thinking he had a lot more guys going to be there, and I was worried about him charging my trolls then. So I just flee my Wolf Riders, because I figure I don't think he's going to charge my trolls, even though they're worth a lot of victory points, because he's only got 2 wounds left, and I have a lot of vomits, even though he probably killed a troll. It's too many vomits he's going to have to worry about to avoid without having his Lord get killed. So I think he'll probably charge my goblins, but I don't really care too much about that. And he does, but he fails to charge. So going into that, he charges his bats again at my gigantic spotter. I flee more. He's not able to get to me. And so then we go into magic. He casts something. I think he just tries to do a gaze or something at me. I have to let it go. I've used up all my little anti-magic things. So he heals his wound back, so he has full wounds on his lord again. Going into shooting, he screams away one of my spear chuckers. This panics the next spear chucker, so it can't shoot next turn. And then we go into the combats. He attacks again. He can't kill my general. He doesn't wound my BSB, and he can't kill my big boss. I'm able to whittle him down to maybe I think there's 5 or 6 ghouls left in this picture. So things are looking real good for next turn for me to have those ghouls knocked out of the way. And Orcs turn 4. Some things start to turn against me now. My big troll unit fails stupidity, so I can't charge his lord. I don't know if I can actually see it, but deer have to stumble forward now. Then my orc archers fail animosity. They decide, they want to charge those skeletons in front of them, that big skeleton unit with 2 wraiths. And even though it's a long charge, they're going to make that charge. So I gave them bows to shoot, not to fight. So I'm able to rally my little warfighter unit. I don't rally my gigantic spotter. It keeps running. See, I decide to march up my goblins. I get my level 1 shaman out of that unit first. And then I also I charged my little troll unit into the flank of the ghouls because of the angle it was in. I was hoping on an overrun I could hit his lord in the flank of my trolls and then be able to do a vomit or something on his trolls and somehow win that. Or at least pin his general in place for a little bit. So when we go into magic, again, I don't really have much. I don't get Ere We Go Off or Fist of Gork. Going to shooting, I have 1 spirit checker left that can shoot. It does nothing. So we go into the combats. My orc archers are predictably just wiped away. They do have some guys left. They break and they get ran down. When we go into the ghoul combat, this is terrible. He hardly has any ghouls left alive. He has 2 that can fight my lord. So my lord's been barely staying alive for several combat rounds. He puts all 4 of those attacks on my lord. He does 2 wounds. I need to make 2 4+ wards. I only make 1. So he kills my general. He still doesn't kill my big boss. I'll wipe away the ghouls, but I lost my general there, and that's really bad. And then my overrun's not enough for me to get to his general. And we have Vampire's turn 4 now. Things are starting to go a little bit downhill for me. He charges his bats at my fleeing gigantic spotter, so I'm forced to flee again. And then he charges his lord at my gigantic spotter, and that forces me to get off the table. So then he redirects his lord and my goblins. I decide to hold. I want to try to make him earn it. I'm hoping I can stay steadfast. But in my mind, I forget I don't have my general anymore, so I'm going to be steadfast on a 6, not a 9. So then other than that, he charges his Terrorgeist at my wolf fighters that had rallied. I decided to hold and make him earn it. I passed my terror test somehow. So then we go into magic. I don't really know what he does. I don't think he has much to do. And in shooting, he just goes ahead and screams into my warfighters. He kills 4 of them. I'm breaking here. I actually get away. Then his lord goes into my goblins. He kills enough of them to break my steadfast anyway, so they break and get destroyed. So this is starting to be a bad turn. Even though those small point level things, this is starting to add up. And I have Orc Goblin turn 5. With my general dead, both my trolls obviously pretty much gonna fail stupidity, and they both do even with rerolls. Otherwise, I gotta try to get my level 1 out of the charge arc of his lord. I'm able to do that. Reform some other guys. When we go into magic, I decide last turn he did get whatever spell it is that makes you take damage on a roll of a 6 or something, and then it goes to 5 and 4 like that. He had gotten that off from my orcs, and I decided not to try to dispel that, because I figure I'm going to put everything in trying to photogork his general, but I'm not able to do it. So then I have my 2 spear chuckers, both of them shoot. So he kills like 4 more orcs with his spell. So both my spear chuckers, they both shoot at his general. Both hit, both wound, but he makes both ward saves. Oh, I can't complain because I've done so well, but still, you want him to fail one of those ward saves, don't you? And this is Vampire's turn 5. We're going to be running out of time after this turn, so we won't be able to finish things up. So basically he decides he's going to charge the skeleton to my spear checker again. He fails it again. He charges his last bat unit here at my level 1 shaman. It's a pretty long charge. I figure he's going to get a rear and a charge on me, and at best maybe he'll do 1 wound probably, or maybe 2. I mean, if he doesn't kill me, he's going to do 1 wound at least. I'm probably going to lose about 3 or 4. I figure it's better for me to flee, but I barely flee any, and he's able to catch me and run me down. I still think it was probably a better bet for me to flee and try to save those points than fighting it out, because I'm sure I would have lost and gotten cut down for sure then. So then when we go into magic, he still has the dance on me. He's been leaving that on me. He rolls that on me again. Not the dance. The one that makes you take damage from rolling 6s or whatever. I think he casts it again on me. And between that and his Terrorgeist Scream, he gets me down to about 6 orcs. I passed my panic test. Even if I had fled, I still would have kept the points because I wasn't going to go off the table. So that basically ends the game. So when we add it all up, this turns out to be a 10-10 draw. I'm up by about 130 or 140, and in this tournament you need to win by 201 for it not to be a draw. So basically my shaman getting cut down there at the end was enough to be able to pull it from 11-9 to a 10-10. But he was really making a good comeback there as the game went along, because the game looked really bad for him after my spear chucker basically wiped out most of his unit there. And so we come to the end of another battle report. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I really did. It seems like the two of us were playing each other pretty much every tournament. I think we might go ahead and just probably just need to challenge each other first round. The next tournament, get out of the way. But anyway, it's been real fun. Somehow I've been able to avoid the worst of the night bus for 3 or 4 straight games now. And so every time we play each other, I get real worried that, my shooting's going to fail out on me. But at some point, the Spear Chucker of the Doom Divers always managed to make that night bus ineffective. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe, like, comment, make any suggestions. And next time I'll be taking on, in Game 5, another Warriors of Chaos list. See you guys then.